since it's 12 o'clock here in Colorado. Thanks so much for joining us. Today is a special presentation because we're going to be doing the Money Talks, which is a series we do at the World's Fair of Money in Chicago. Excuse me, that would have been Pittsburgh this year, and it would have been this week, but we changed it to the e-learning due to the cancellation, so we hope you enjoy. We are recording this presentation, so if you cut out or if you have to leave early, you'll be able to get on our website a little bit later on, and you'll be able to share it with your friends then too. If you have any questions, feel free to send them through the Q&A or the chat feature here in Zoom, and I will ask them, or I will share them with Rod at the end of the presentation. And if we can't get to all of the questions, then I will share them with Rod at the end of the presentation, and he'll be able to answer them then. So I would like to turn it over to Rod. He's going to talk about strategies to dispose of your collection. Enjoy.
Thank you, Brianna. And welcome, everyone. Happy afternoon. So today we are going to spend a little bit of time together talking about which some people can be an unpleasant subject, and that's what to do with your collection once you've decided to sell it. You're reaching the end, and you want to know what to do with your collection. The whole reason that we got started with this Money Talk is that working in the education department at the ANA, we get phone calls on a regular basis about from people who have inherited a collection from their grandparents or father or what have you, and they haven't the slightest idea as to what to do with their collection. So I thought that the best way to handle this is to actually talk to the collector themselves to be able to prepare themselves for what they want to do with their collection as they are either closing in or upon their demise. So I understand why this is not the most pleasant of subject, but it's an important subject and something that we should all think about. I'm not a financial advisor, nor am I a tax advisor, but the whole purpose of this presentation that we are going to go through now will hopefully, the goal is to get you to at least start thinking about how you want to handle your collection. Because if you worked hard on your collection, like most of us do, you want to see it go to the proper people, or at least be handled in the best way possible. So that is the goal, to try to get you thinking about how you want to handle your collection, and not leaving it up to your relatives who may not have the slightest idea of what to do with it. And of course, if they don't have a really good idea as to what they want to do with it, they could possibly make some serious mistakes. All right, well, let's get started. As I mentioned, in the education department, we get a lot of questions from people who are looking for guidance after they've inherited a collection. What are some of these questions? Well, and you can fill this in as you want, my grandfather passed away, and he left the family a coin collection. How can I sell it? Another question would be, I have a client who collected rolls of presidential dollars. Where do I get them graded? And can you give me the names of the dealers who want to buy them? That was an interesting contact from the lawyer, because what I told him was that presidential dollars really are not worth a tremendous amount of money, and you would spend more money getting them graded. And, once you did that, then you would have a hard time selling them to dealers. And at first, he really didn't believe what I had to say. So that's kind of interesting in how that how that discussion took place. My grandfather brought back money while he was in Europe during World War II. Can I turn the note and coins in for United States money? That we get that question all the time, and as you can probably imagine, the answer is not one that the people who call want to hear. My grandmother left me a $500 note. Can I spend it? And then consequently, we also get this question. A customer came in with a $500 note. Can we accept it? We get those questions all the time. And of course, with that question about a $500 note, can I spend it? The answer is yes, but you certainly don't want to do that because the note is worth far more to a collector than it would be for its denominational or face value. And with the bank, we tell them that yes, you can accept it, but be a nice person, do the right thing, and tell the person who has the note that they should take it to a dealer, that they can get quite a bit more money for it than than the face value, and then they can take that money and bring it to the bank to put it in their savings account or whatever they wish to do. All right, so going back to where it says my grandfather brought back money while he was in Europe during World War II. Can I turn the notes and coins in for United States money? Oftentimes, this question comes from someone who has encountered some hyperinflation currency that was in Germany right after the First World War. You can see the picture there that I have for you. The money that was printed during the 1920s, 1923, for example, was so worthless, so inflated, that people used the notes for wallpaper because it was cheaper to do that than it was to try to actually spend the note. So what happens is we often get people who contact us who have these German hyperinflation notes for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of marks. And they're hoping that what they can do is take it to a place and they can exchange these German hundreds of thousands of marks for United States dollars. And the answer is, of course, that Germany no longer recognizes this as money, and so that you can't do that. They have a fascinating story to tell. They're wonderful notes. They're often very beautiful, very large, but in terms of turning them in to get reimbursed, that's not going to happen. Here's an example of one of the hyperinflationary notes. It's a 100,000 mark, and you can see the date on it is 1923. This is a really neat note, but unfortunately, it's not one that people are going to be able to take and get dollars for them. There's a wonderful story that I often think of, and I tell people concerning the hyperinflationary notes. People at that time in the early 1920s, if you were fortunate to have a job, you were often paid twice a day, and you were paid in baskets full of money. There's pictures of people with baskets waiting in line so that they're going to get paid. And there's this wonderful story about a woman who has a wheelbarrow full of this hyperinflationary money, and she wants to take it and buy a loaf of bread. So she goes to the bakery, and she can't fit the wheelbarrow in. So she leaves it out front, and she goes in to talk to the baker, and she and the baker come out the front door with a loaf of bread, and the money's still there, but the wheelbarrow is gone. And that's supposedly a true story that it happened during this 1923 period of hyperinflation. Thinking of the inevitable. I saw this, and I saw this cartoon, and I just thought that it was particularly funny, and I added it to our password. Sorry your username and password doesn't match. And if you're anything like me, when we are ready to pass through that misty veil of life, this is probably what we're going to see. So we have a philosophic question, and the philosophic question is, do we really own the collection that we have? And that's an important question. And we see here a picture of John D. Rockefeller. A reporter once asked the accountant of John D. Rockefeller how much money Rockefeller left after he died. And the accountant replied, he left all of it, because we can't take it with us. So it's important then to think about what it is that we want to do with our collection, so that people can follow our instructions, and the collection that you work so hard to assemble can go to the right places, the places that you wish for it to go. Here's a picture of John Rockefeller, and he's handing a dime to a youngster. He had a belief that If he could hand out a dime to youngsters, that it probably could help them on the way to saving money. Rockefeller carried a bag of dimes and would give one to each child that he met and told them to give cheerfully, and they would receive tenfold. It's estimated that he gave away $35,000 worth of dimes. He also founded the University of Chicago. So do we really own our collection? And I would like to tell people that as coin collectors, we don't really own the coins. We're just their caretakers for a relatively short period of time. Our job is to enjoy them and leave them in the best possible condition for the next generation to enjoy. So that leaves us with the question that is the goal that we want to talk about today. How and when to dispose of your collection. And really, you have two venues. You can either dispose of your collection while you are still alive, or you can dispose your collection after you have passed the great misty veil of life and find yourself in the great coin shop in the sky. And there are advantages and disadvantages to both. So I want you to consider both to see which way works best for you. Let's first talk about selling your coins. You can also give your coins to another collector, often a relative. So for example, let's say that you have a collection and your son or daughter is really interested in collecting coins, or your grandchildren. So this might be the proper way to dispose of your collection. The third way that you can dispose of your collection is to donate your collection. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about ways in which to sell your coins, strategies to donate your collection. So you can think about ways in which you want to do that. It's possible that there's no reason where it can't be a combination. So for example, you don't have to sell your entire collection. Perhaps you wish to sell part of your collection, you want to donate part of your collection, and maybe there's some coins that are particularly special that you would wish to remain in the family. And that's kind of the strategy that I'm going to employ. Here's a stock certificate that I plan on donating to the ANA in the near future. This is a stock certificate, and it's the Buick Oil Company. I happen to collect stock certificates, and one of the specialties that I collect is stock certificates that are related to automobiles. I'm a Buick man. I have a Buick antique car, and my daily driver is a Buick. And I wanted to find a Buick stock certificate, but after doing research, what I noticed was that David Dunbar Buick actually sold his company to General Motors. And before that time, his company was private. So there were no public issues or stock certificates for Buick automobiles. But what I found out was that after he sold his company, his car company, to General Motors, he went out to California and started his own oil company. And so even though I am not able to get a Buick automobile stock certificate, I got the next best thing, which is a Buick Oil Company stock certificate. And I don't know if you can see or not, but if in the lower right-hand corner, you will see that is the signature DD Buick, which stands for David Dunbar Buick. So he actually signed this stock certificate. So it brings me a great deal of pleasure. And I plan on donating this to the American Numismatic Association at some point. On the left is a picture of David Dunbar Buick, and on the right is the car that I have right now. No, I won't be donating my antique Buick to the ANA. That's probably going to remain in my family. But anyway, the sad part about David Dunbar Buick is that he, as brilliant as he was, and he was a brilliant man, he actually initially became successful by figuring out what to use on bathroom fixtures, bathtubs, for example, to keep them from rotting away or rusting away. And then he decided to get into the automobile industry. Unfortunately, by the end of his life, he was so poor that he was working part-time at a trade school, and he was so poor that he didn't have enough money to actually have a telephone. So unfortunately, David Dunbar Buick's end was not all that great. Although my car that you see there is, in a few months, it will be 70 years old. And I wish I could actually meet him and show him that there are still examples of his handiwork around. Some of you may recognize this dollar commemorative coin. This is the World War I centennial coin. And I have an example of this. I actually had two examples. And the one example that I have, I'm going to give to my son. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because I was the one that actually came up with the idea of a World War I centennial coin back in 2010, 10 years ago. And I noticed that there were commemorative coins that sort of commemorated the soldiers of various wars, certainly the Revolution, the Civil War, the War of 1812, I knew was in the process, but it wasn't completed at that time, back in 2010. The Korean conflict, the Second World War, the Vietnam War, but there wasn't anything for our World War I soldiers. And what I did, when I did some research, I wondered if there was any American veteran back in 2010 who was still alive from the First World War. And a matter of fact, there was one gentleman who was still alive during the and who had fought in the war. And so he inspired me to come up with a idea for a collectible silver dollar that would be a commemorative coin to commemorate our soldiers who fought in the war to end all wars. And what was interesting is it took me 5 years to get the legislation passed in Congress and the president, President Obama at the time, to get him to sign the legislation to get this coin enacted. And I was actually involved in helping to write this legislation. So this coin means a great deal to me for obvious reasons, and I want my son to have it. Actually, what happened was that in November of 2017, the Mint contacted me, and they said, "Rod, we've heard that you were kind of involved in creating this coin, and we're going to have this sort of celebration / presentation for some congressmen and senators who are coming, and we're going to mint some examples of the coin, and we'd like for you to come." And this was at the Philadelphia Mint, and I thought that that was a great honor. And so I came, and when it came my turn to actually mint the coin, I minted coin number 10. And I said to them, "Well, will I be able to, keep this coin that I minted?" And the director of the mint said, "No, not quite yet, because we're not able. It's not considered legal tender until the coin actually goes up for sale. And the coin's going to go up for sale in January." He says, "So in January, we'll call you and let you know that the coin that you've just minted, we'll be able to get that to you." And I said, "Well, that's fine. That makes perfect sense to me." And sure enough, in January, they called me. And the mint said, "Well, we're ready to deliver your coin to you." And I said, "Oh, that's great. When should I expect it?" And they said, "As soon as you pay the $54 for the coin, that's when we'll be able to send it to you." So I paid that amount. I donated the coin to the ANA because at that time, they were putting together a main exhibit on money of the First World War. And then I just bought another one, and that one's the one that's going to go to my son when I'm not around. Getting started. The very first thing that you want to do when you are considering what to do with your collection is you want to organize your collection, and you want to keep the recipient in mind. So in other words, if you are planning to sell your collection after you pass away, you need to consider how much information the person who is going to be responsible for distributing your collection, what it is that they know. So if they don't know very much, you're going to have to be very detailed in how you want to give the directions for the collection to be dispersed. A lot of people call us and they say, we're really interested in having a software that we can use to organize my collection. And generally, what we tell them is that we find that the best way to do that is to use an Excel file. And the reason is because an Excel file never goes out of date. A lot of the software for coin collectors does go out of date after a while. And the other nice thing about using an Excel file is you can adapt it, you can mold it to however your collection tends to be. As a matter of fact, if you go to our website at money.org, we have an Excel file that you can download that sort of has the basics on it, and then you can shape or mold it, change it any way you like to fit your collection. So that's something that you may want to consider. One of the things that you're going to probably want to include on your Excel file is the country of origin of your coin. You're going to want to include the denomination as well. And if you have that knowledge, you're also going to want to include the grade. Why do you want to include these things? Well, it will help whoever it is who is going to be responsible for a collection. The more information they have, the better off they are. So while these are just the basics, you really want to think about all the different kind of information that would be pertinent that would be able to help the person who is responsible for dealing with your collection. Selling the collection. So suppose that you plan on getting rid of your collection while you are still alive, and you've decided that you want to sell the collection. That's what you've decided upon. Well, there's several ways to do that. And the first way that you can sell your collection, naturally, is to sell your collection to a dealer. What are the advantages and disadvantages of selling your collection to a dealer? Well, it's the cleanest and quickest sale. You'll take the collection to a dealer, and the dealer should tell you what the value of your collection is and what they can offer for that collection. And if you and the dealer come to an agreement, then it's just a matter of the money changing hands, your collection going to the dealer, and the dealer paying for your collection and moving on. So it is the cleanest and quickest sale. Like I said, if the dealer is a good dealer, what they should do is they should take the time to explain to you about the price that they are offering and why they believe that price is a fair price. I want to tell you that we get so many people who contact us and say, well, I know this coin is really old, so it has to be very valuable. And you as a collector probably realize that just because a coin is old, and old is a relative term, that really has very little to do with the value. As a matter of fact, when I teach other classes, when I talk about the value of a coin, really there are three variables that determine the value of a coin. One is the mintage number, how rare the coin actually is. Number two, the grade or preservation of the coin. And number three is whether the coin is a coin that has a lot of interest. There are some coins that have a great deal of interest. For example, Morgan dollars. Morgan dollars are probably bought and sold more than any other coin. Certainly at a coin show, that's the way it is. But a peace dollar, for whatever reason, doesn't have the general interest that a Morgan dollar does. Why is this important? Well, there is no set price for any coin. It sounds a bit flippant, but I tell people when they ask me, how much is this coin worth? I tell them, generally, whatever someone is willing to pay for it. And that really is the true answer. Let's use a coin. Let's use a key coin. Let's use an Indian head cent, 1877. That's the key to that particular series. Suppose that you have a 1877 Indian head cent, and you take it to dealer A. And dealer A happens to have 5 of those 1877 cents in similar condition to the one that you offer. And he'll probably want to buy that coin from you because it's such a rare coin, and he'll give you a price. Dealer B has no examples of an 1877 Indian head cent in his store. Not only that, but he has a regular customer who is looking for just that coin. So which one do you think is probably going to give you a better price? Will it be dealer A or will it be dealer B? Well, it's going to be dealer B. So it's important to remember that there isn't a definitive price out there. There are lots of reasons why different people offer different prices for different values of coins. Disadvantages to selling to a dealer. Well, dealers are going to offer a wholesale price, and that's not an unfair thing to do. I mean, if that's what they're in the business to do, buy and sell coins, naturally they're going to have to buy coins for less than they're able to sell it. And it's not anything underhanded or wrong. That's just the way dealers are able to make a living. And so it's important to understand that. And again, as we've talked earlier, there's no set actual there's no set price for a particular coin. You may go to 3 different dealers, and 3 different dealers will offer you 3 different amounts for a particular coin or a particular collection. And there's nothing wrong with going to a couple dealers to be able to get the best price for your collection. But it's also important to understand that there are factors involved into why dealers will offer you a particular price. And it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It's just business. That's what they're conducting because they're in it to make a profit. They're in it to earn a living. And that's important to understand. One of the disadvantages to selling to a dealer is you may bring a rather large collection. And let's just say that there's a good portion of the collection that is made of common coins. Let's say that there's just a whole mess of wheat cents from the 1940s and 50s that are in average circulating condition. Well, the dealer may not be interested in that part of the collection because they're considered common coins, and they may only be interested in the coins that are rare in your collection. And you may want to dispose of the entire collection, and they may not be willing to do that. So that is something that you need to consider. If you wish to sell your coins to a dealer, but you don't know where to find dealers, if you go to our homepage at money.org, you will see at the top, there's a place where it says find a dealer at the top of our page, sort of in the center. And if you click on that find a dealer, that will take you to our dealer page, our dealer directory. And then it's just a matter of putting in some very simple information on your part. And then you'll be able to locate dealers who are generally local to your area. The nice part about that is all of the dealers that are listed are all members of the ANA in good standing. And because of that, they agree to abide by a code of ethics. And so that's important. Remember, you may go to a dealer and just not like that dealer personally. Maybe there's something about their personality that you don't care for, but that doesn't mean that they don't know. They're not experts in coin collecting. So keep that in mind. Although it is fair to say that you want to trust your gut. If you go into a dealer and there's just something that you're not happy with, and there's something telling you not to conduct business there, then don't do it. It's completely up to you. But you'll find that the dealers that are listed in our dealer directory far and away tend to be above board and are interested in your collection that you want to offer to them. Here's the, if you click onto the dealer directory, this is the next page that you'll run across. And you can search by city, state, or country, and you can enter specific words. So for example, if you want to put in paper money, let's say that you have paper money that you wish to sell, and you put into your keyword paper money, then the dealers who specialize in paper money will pop up on the screen. So it's very user-friendly, and I suggest that you use it. Selling your collection yourself to another interested party. What are the advantages to that? Well, you're selling the coins privately. And what that means is that you'll probably get a better price because you don't necessarily have to sell the coins for wholesale. Disadvantages. The disadvantages to trying to sell your coins privately, first thing is that there's more work involved in finding a buyer. You can locate a dealer, it's an easy transaction, and that might be the cleanest way to go. But if you want to locate a buyer, that is going to require work on your part. One of the suggestions that we have for people who want to do that is to locate your local coin club, and perhaps that you'll be able to find a interested buyer by doing that. There's also the matter of security issues. Obviously you don't want to advertise that you have a collection in your home ready to be taken. And so, that's not something that you want to advertise in your paper or virtually or anyway. So you want to keep that in mind, that this is something that is not for the public to know. A lot of people contact us and they say, well, I can put the coins on eBay and I can sell them that way. And we don't disagree with them, but there are a couple of things in play. Number one is with eBay, you're going to have to take photos of the coin. And, not all people take good photos of coins. There's a bit of expertise in doing that. And so if you're going to take a picture of your coin, but you're not going to show it in its best light, that may affect the price of the coin, what someone is willing to offer. Not only that, but if you're taking a picture of a coin and you don't know a great deal about the coin, you may be hiding a problem with that particular coin. And you're not doing it on purpose. I mean, you just don't know. But by taking a photo that is not the best, there may be a problem with the coin that is concealed in the photo that you're taking. And then if that happens and you sell the coin and the buyer is not real happy and wants to return the coin, that can be a real pain. So that's not something that you necessarily want to consider. The other thing is that if you don't know a lot about your particular coin and people want to ask you questions about it, then and if you're not knowledgeable about the coin, that can be a disadvantage as well. Selling the coins to an auction company. What are the advantages? Well, generally, if you're able to sell your coins to an auction company, or they are going to hold an auction and list your coins, you'll realize the best prices. Why is that? Well, the reason that is because you're going to hit the target audience. The audience are all collectors. Why would they attend the auction if they're not? And so they're going to be probably interested in the coin that you have for sale. What are the disadvantages? Well, the first disadvantage is there's a time element. When you talk to an auction company and have an interest in having your collection included in an upcoming auction, the auction is going to be a bit of time away. They're going to have to catalog your collection. They're going to have to take images of it. And then once they've done those things, then they're going to put it in the next suitable auction. So we could be talking 6, 7, 8 months down the road. And so if you want to sell the collection rather quickly, an auction company may not be the best choice for you. And generally, the auction company, because they invest time and effort in making your collection look as interesting as it can possibly be, they're probably only interested in very rare and valuable coins. Again, your 1945 Philadelphia Lincoln cent that is in very good condition is probably not going to be something that the auction company wishes to handle. The only way the only exception to that rule is there's provenance behind it. So for example, if you can show that someone very famous happened to own that coin, that may be a possibility, but you know as well as I that that's probably not going to happen. And so they're only going to be interested in the coins that have a pretty good value, so that they can realize they can recoup their investment in selling your coins. And once your coins have been purchased by someone from an auction company, there's always the amount of paperwork and the payment that needs to go in. So again, the money's not going to change hands instantly. And so you'll have to wait for the payment. Now, auction companies are very good about getting the payment to you, but it's not going to happen, that day. So that's another important thing that you'll need to consider. Tax implications of selling your collection. This is a big thing because so many people are worried about, if I sell my collection, what taxes am I going to have to pay? And that's a legitimate question. So, do I have to pay income tax on coins that I sell from my collection? And the answer is absolutely. How do I determine that profit that I made? I don't have a record of my purchase price. Well, the best solution is to figure out the approximate time you purchased the coins. Find the value of the coins at that time and deduct that number from the selling price. That is your profit. And if you wish to do that, probably the best reference that you can use, and the IRS is certainly happy with you using this reference, is the Red Book or Guidebook of United States coins. That is, of course, if your collection consists of United States coins. So, and if you need that, where's a great place to find older issues of the Red Book? Well, the ANA library is a wonderful place to be able to find older issues because we have every year Red Book that was published. So we can go back into its inception, and if you need an older Red Book, this is the place that you might be able to find the information that you need. Can I deduct a loss of value when I sell my coins? So we've already said that if you made a profit, that is a taxable event. What about if I sell my coins, but I sell them for less than I paid for them? What are the tax implications of that? And the answer is it depends. If you are an investor and have realized a profit for the past several years, the answer is yes, you can write off the loss of value. But if you're a collector who bought coins for enjoyment, as most of us are in this situation, the answer is no. So because I'm not a dealer, if I buy coins and then when I'm ready to sell them, I don't get what I paid for them, that's not a taxable event. I'm not able to deduct the loss from on my taxes because that's not what I do for a living. What to do with the money once you have sold your coins? So suppose you've sold your coins and you were very prudent in your collection, and you realized some money from the sale of your coins. What is a good taxable way to handle that money that you've accumulated? Well, there's something called a CRT, which is a charitable remainder trust, and I have a diagram for you to look at. Basically, what happens with a CRT is that you purchase something called a charitable remainder trust, where the money at your demise will go to identified charities, all right? But up until that time, that money is parked in the trust, and you can actually earn money from that charitable remainder trust. And you can take disbursements from that and use it for, buying groceries or whatever you need to do. But you can also take a portion of that and you can purchase a life insurance trust that will then go to your children upon your death. So this is a great way, the CRT, a charitable remainder trust, is a great way to handle money so that the tax implications are minimized and you can still live off of from the charitable remainder trust. That's a way that you can realize a profit and, have the life insurance trust for your children. And when your children get the life insurance that you have bought through the trust, that is not a taxable event. So this is one way. I'm sure that there are a lot of ways, and again, I'm not a financial advisor or a tax accountant, so you definitely want to talk to a financial advisor. But this is just one idea of how you can go about dealing with the money that you've made off of your collection. If you decide that you want someone to handle your collection upon your demise, the most important advice that I can give you is to leave a will. Please do that. And in the will, you want to include where your collection is. So if you're keeping it at a safety deposit box at Bill's Bank, You need for the people who are going to handle your collection to know that. You're also going to want them to know where the location is for the inventory. Remember that inventory that we talked about on the Excel file that you're going to do? So to help the people, your relatives, so that they can handle your collection, they need to know where it is as well. Just doing it and then putting it in a drawer is not a lot of help to them. You also want to include instructions as to who and how the collection should be sold and where the proceeds go. And most importantly, please make sure that you keep this information in your will up to date. Old information that really doesn't matter anymore is of no help. So if you've moved your money, you moved your collection from safety deposit box in Bill's bank and moved it over to Ted's bank, and you didn't include that in your will, how are they going to know where your collection resides? How do I establish for taxes the value of coins I inherited? This is a great question because we get people who are panicked who call us and say, my grandfather had this collection, and we're going to sell it, but we have no idea how much he paid for these coins, and so how are we going to be able to assess the tax implications? What a great question. And fortunately, we have an answer that is not too complicated. So when you inherit coins, your basis, what the taxable gains are based on when you sell the coins. And it's set at a fair example value of the coins when the decedent died. For example, the grandfather started collecting coins when he was young and paid only $300 for his collection, but the coins are now worth $5,000. Your basis is set at the $5,000. Therefore, if you turn around and sell them for $5,000, you won't pay any taxes, because even though the coins are worth $4,700 more than what your grandfather paid, the step up in basis leaves you with no taxable gains because your basis equals the sale price. What does that mean in plain English? What that means is it doesn't matter what your grandfather purchased the coins for back in 1948. What matters is the value of the coins at when he passed away. So you don't have to worry about going back in the research. So if at the time that your grandfather passed away, his collection was worth $5,000, and you sell the collection for $5,000, there is no profit. It's a wash at that point. And so there is no taxable event. So you don't have to go back and try to figure out how much coins were worth when your grandfather started collecting back in the 1940s. That's not needed, okay? Hopefully I hear a big sigh of relief now on my computer screen. Federal estate tax schedule. The federal government only imposes an estate tax, not an inheritance tax. So if you're inheriting a collection, you don't have to worry about the feds. What is the estate tax? Well, roughly for a single individual, it's $11.4 million. And if you're married, it's $22.8 million. So if you're a ham and egger like me, who has a collection of Franklin half dollars, probably you're not going to have to worry about the federal estate tax. That's not something that you're going to need to deal with. Only very few collections are going to be subjected to the federal government estate tax. What if the family has inherited a collection? Is there anyone within the family who is interested in the collection? That's what you want to determine. So if I know that my son is very interested in collecting coins, then probably in my will, I want to dictate how much of the collection is going to go to him. If the family inherits a collection, but there is no one who is interested in the collection, and they're going to sell it, what happens what are the implications about inheritance taxes? And what you're going to find out, and that's why I have the map for you on the left-hand side, is that most states do not have inheritance taxes. Okay. There are some states that have an estate tax but no inheritance tax, and they on the map are in the yellow or gold. There are states that have an inheritance tax but no estate tax. They are in the blue. And then you might be just one of those lucky people who live in a state that both has an estate and inheritance tax, like if you live in Maryland or New Jersey or Delaware. Wonderful places where you get to pay both an inheritance tax and an estate tax. So the answer is it depends. You know, when I look at this and I check on this map that I produced for you, I check on this very often because it's inconceivable to me that California does not have an estate or inheritance tax, because they're always looking for ways to raise taxes to fund their various programs. And it's inconceivable to me that California does not have it. If you're living in California, your secret is safe with me. I'm not going to say anything, but you may want to keep an eye on that. Donating a part of your collection. You can donate to a charitable organization, and that allows for a tax deduction based on the value of your donation. The organization is responsible for providing you with a receipt for your donation, but they cannot appraise the value. An appraisal is the responsibility of the donator. So, the American Numismatic Association is a 501(c)(3). And as such, we are unable by law to provide you with an appraisal of the coins that you are donating to us. We're not allowed to do that. So what we do is we provide a receipt for your donation, and it can be as detailed as it needs to be. And then it's between you and the IRS as to how much you wish to claim. All right? We kind of stay out of that. And it's not a matter of we don't want to do it, although we really don't. It's a matter of, by law, we are not able to do that, provide you with an appraisal. Federal standard tax deductions versus itemized deductions. So, you know, right now, as the federal tax code is stated, you have a standard deduction, being single, of $12,200. And if you're married, filing jointly, which most married couples do, your standard deduction is $24,400. What does that mean? That means that if you're going to donate a portion of your collection to a 501(c), like the ANA, for example, that unless you are able to reach that $24,400 level with all your standard deductions, it's not going to work in terms of taking that as a deduction. You'll probably want to use your standard deduction. And again, for most of us, where our collection is rather small and not a huge value, that's something to consider. The organization is responsible for providing us with you a receipt and a donation, but they cannot appraise the value. An appraisal is the responsibility of the donator. Can't say that enough. So, one of the great places to make a donation is to the American Numismatic Association. Why do I say that? Well, there are several places that the donation can go to. It can go to the ANA Museum. It can go to the Education Department. If it goes to the Education Department, there are several programs that we have, especially for young numismatists. We call them YNs, that we can filter your donation into these various programs. For example, we have a program called Coins for A's, where youngsters who earn 3 or more A's in a marking period can earn a coin from us. There's the Dollar Program. The Dollar Program is for members of the association who are 12 and under. They perform various tasks, and they get rewarded with dollars. We also have the Ancient and Early American Copper Coin projects for members. We also give out coins to Scout Merit Badge workshops and Fun with Money workshops. Fun with Money workshops are the Girl Scout equivalent. And we also have young numismatist auctions. We have an auction where we auction off 3 items to youngsters every month. And then in September, we have the year-long auction, a great big auction where we auction off 100 items. And they don't, no worries, the kids don't pay actual money for the items. When we have youngsters who are able to complete certain numismatic tasks, we are able to pay them in what we call YN dollars, and then they hold on to these YN dollars. And then when they are interested in an auction, on an item in an auction, they can bid with their YN dollars, and that's how they're able to obtain the particular item. So, what can we use if you're interested in donating to the ANA? We can definitely use world coins. We use world coins primarily for our Coins for A's program. World paper money. We can use world paper money. We often include that in packets that we supply for the merit badge workshops and the Fun with Money workshops. United States coins, regardless of value. We can always find ways to use coins, even if they're, again, the 40s or 50s wheat cents. I promise you, with our youngsters, I can find a good home for them. I promise. And of course, there's United States paper money. So let's say you have the standard silver certificate from 1957, and you want to donate that to the ANA. I'll find a good home for it to a deserving youngster, and you'll be important in helping promote the hobby. Coins for A's. So here's our paper. It shows you what Coins for A's looks like. And again, any youngster, they do not have to be a member of the ANA, who earns 3 or more A's in a marking period, can submit their report card to us, a copy of their report card, and we will send to them an interesting world coin, and we will challenge them to learn as much about the history and geography of the country that minted their world coin. And we'll also send to them an application for a free 1-year membership to the ANA. So those world coins that you have that you think are probably worthless, if you send them to us, I promise you I'll be able to find good homes for them. Dollar Project. So here are the 4 items that the youngsters need, 4 activities that the youngsters need to accomplish to be able to earn dollars. The first one is a coin rubbing. They complete a coin rubbing, they submit that, and if they do that, they receive a presidential dollar from us. The next activity involves picking a year that a dollar coin was minted. Let's use 1921. So they're going to use the date 1921, and they're going to show us 5 things that happened in the United States in the year 1921, and 5 things that happened in the world in 1921. And if they complete that activity, they'll get an Eisenhower dollar from us. The third activity is they're going to design their own commemorative dollar. They download a template that we have on our website, and then they tell me all about the design that they completed. And if they do that, they'll get an actual silver dollar. In other words, they'll get a peace dollar or they'll get a Morgan dollar. And then the final activity is a choose your own adventure activity that they complete on our website that they are able to, that talks about how a coin is manufactured at the mint. And once they complete that site, doing that on our site, then we get a form that is generated, and we send to them a Canadian mint set. So this activity is a great activity. Again, it's for members who are 12 and under. And if you have any of those items that we talked about that you wanted to donate, presidential dollars, silver dollars, or Canadian mint sets, anything like that, or Eisenhower dollars, if you wanted to donate them, I can find good homes through the Dollar Project. And then this is the current catalog that we've just designed. And the date for the YN auction is September 12th, next month. And what happens is that the youngsters will be able to use the YN dollars that they've earned over the course of the year and bid on numismatic items that they'll be able to keep. And we're really excited. We do this every year. It's virtual. We actually do it so the kids all across the country can participate. And they sign in just like you did today. And that's how they're able to participate in the auction catalog. The one thing that I wanted to mention is that if you really are interested in what we talked about today, we do have a booklet called Managing and Settling a Numismatic Estate, and it goes into much more detail concerning the subject than what I've been able to share with you today. And you can purchase this on Amazon for $9.95, and it's well worth the price if that's what you decide to do. And the book was written by several people who are financial advisors and includes lawyer advice. So this is something that is well worth the money that you may want to consider. And that's it. So if you have any questions, Brianna, that you want to send my way, I'm happy to try and take a shot at them.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Rod. I'm going to real quick launch the survey. You can please fill that out for us. So a few questions have come in, so I'll just read those off to you. Is now a bad time to sell coins to dealers because some people are cash strapped and dealers may feel that they can offer less than they would during regular economic times?
That's a great question. And so the answer is, and like everything, and I wish I could give you a definitive answer, it really depends. I have a dealer who is a very close friend of mine, and he's telling me that right now he's getting a lot of business. A lot of people are coming in to sell gold and silver bullion coins because the value for gold and silver bullion has gone up within the past week or so. And so if a lot of it is tied to the bullion price. So, for example, he was telling me that silver for an ounce, the spot price is close to $30. It was just a couple of days ago. I don't know what it is today. I haven't had a chance to check. Does that mean that you'll get $30 if you bring in a silver 1 ounce eagle to the dealer? Well, no, because they're going to have to buy it a little under what the spot price is. So again, that they can make a profit. But to answer your question, they're really, with bullion, there is definitely good and bad times to sell coins. With other coins, it really is demand. Like we mentioned earlier, there are some coins that are always in high demand. Morgan dollars are an example of that. There are coins that are rarely in high demand, and we use peace dollars as an example of that. And then there are coins that are cyclical, that go up and down in value. Examples of that might be mercury dimes or buffalo nickels. There are times when they're running really hot and then they cool off. And there's really no rhyme or reason as why that happens. So the best advice I can give you is, consider the economy with bullion. Try to find out whether, if you own coins that we consider cyclical, if they are indeed hot right now or not. And then let that be your guide.
Great. Please follow up on cherry picking. What should a seller do when a dealer wants to cherry pick, but I don't want to do that, fearing that I might eliminate a sexy aspect of my collection?
So if you bring a collection to, well, first of all, let's talk about how should we approach a dealer. When people call me and they say that they want to go to a dealer to sell a collection, whether it's theirs or one that's been inherited, I always tell them the first thing that I want you to do is set up an appointment with the dealer. Don't just walk into the shop. And the reason I say that is because you want them to spend a sufficient amount of time with your collection to be able to consider it carefully. And if you set up an appointment with them, then that's what they're going to be able to do. The other thing that I tell people is please be as honest with the dealer as you possibly can. If you're going in for strictly an appraisal of your collection, tell the dealer that, because the dealer is probably going to charge you for his time in appraising your collection, which is only fair. But if you're going in with the idea that if you can reach an agreement on a particular price that you're willing to sell the collection, then the dealer needs to know that as well. I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent. What was it? Can you repeat that question for me again,
Yeah,
Brianna?
let me find it.
I apologize.
That's okay. So it says, please follow up on cherry picking. What should
Okay.
I do when a dealer wants to cherry pick, but I don't want to do that?
So again, there are times when a dealer has a particular amount of coins in a large, and he's just not interested in a particular amount of coins. And if that is important to you, that you wish to sell your entire collection, and or none at all, and you cannot come to an agreement with a particular dealer, then what you need to do is go to another dealer and see if they would be interested in that. The other option is, if you can agree on most of the collection with a dealer and the rest of the collection that they're not interested in, you don't want around, well, then maybe the idea is you would be able to donate that portion of the collection that is very modestly valued, or the dealers are not particularly interested in, then perhaps you can donate it to a place like the ANA where we can find a good home for it.
For tax purposes, can you figure your cost of the entire collection rather than individual coins? Some may have increased, others not, others decreased. Or do you have to figure the increased value of each coin?
Yeah, there's always the idea that coins are more valuable if they're in a complete set. And while that may be true, I'm not going to dispute that. For purposes of the IRS, they don't care. So unfortunately, it's a matter of each coin, the value of each coin.
Let's see here. I'm particularly pleased that I inherited coins and are a good escape for income taxes. I have been trying to assemble two identical collections for my two sons. Are there disadvantages to passing my collection to my sons? What's the difference between estate tax and inheritance tax?
Those are great questions, and I don't want to get into all the particulars of the inheritance and estate tax, mostly because I'm sure that I would do a very poor job of doing that. So I think that's an instance where you want to talk to your tax advisor. I don't think that I want to say that if you're interested in building collections that will be sent, or that your children are going to inherit because you want to get them involved in the hobby, again, that's not a taxable event until the coins are actually sold. So I don't think in that instance that would be necessarily a problem. But again, since I'm not a tax advisor, I would definitely want to talk to an expert in that field to make sure that you're doing the prudent thing. I'm sorry, but I wish I could give you a better answer. But sometimes the best answer is I'm not particularly aware of all the specifics, and you need to talk to someone who is.
Where is the link for the Excel spreadsheet on money.org?
I because I don't have it, I can't show it to you right now. If you want to, it is kind of hidden away, and if you want to contact the education department, we'll be happy to respond with a link to where it is. So if you're willing to do that, we will respond with that link to get that right to you.
Perfect. I just put the education's email into the chat. So if you have that question or want other questions answered, that goes to multiple of us here in the education department. See, we are coming up on time, but we'll answer a few more. Again, if you haven't answered the survey, please do so we can get some accurate information. If you wanted to donate your collection to, say, the ANA, but are not interested in claiming a donation on your tax or estate return, do you pay to have it appraised?
So if you're not interested, I want to make sure that I answer this. I want to make sure I understand this question correctly. So if you're not interested in the taxable event caused by the donation, you really don't need to worry about an appraisal, if I'm answering your question correctly. What happens is when you make a donation to us, what we do is we take the donation, we have a form that in the education department where we list the items that you donated. Now, it really all depends on the size of the donation. Let's say, for example, that you send us 200 recent British coins. Well, we're happy to accept them, but it would be very time consuming for us to go with each individual of the 200 modern British coins. So in that instance, we might divide it up into denomination instead of talking about each individual coin. But generally, what we do is we take the coins, we assemble a detailed receipt, and then we send that to you. And you also get a really nice thank you letter from our executive director, Kim Kick. And it is very heartfelt because we do appreciate any donations that you come our way. Generally, when we receive a donation, what we do is we look over it very carefully and we decide whether or not that an individual piece of your donation might go to the museum, because there are times when someone donates something to us that the museum does not have that particular coin, in which case we move it along so that the museum can have it so that people can study that particular coin or even perhaps display it. Unless, of course, you send us a donation with specific instructions. Let's say that you're going to send us 10 silver dollars and you specifically want that used for the dollar project. Well, we'll honor your request that way. The only thing we can't honor is if people donate a coin and say, I want this shown in the museum exhibit. And the reason we can't honor that is because we have a fairly small museum building, and we're constantly changing exhibits all the time. And so we can't guarantee that your particular coin will be used in an exhibit that is open to the public. But that's really the only thing that we can't honor with a specific instructions.
Great. So we're going to do one more. Again, if you didn't get your question answered, I will be sending this to Rod to get answered at a later time. If we donate world coins that probably have no value, do we need to have them appraised?
No. The answer is no, because, and that's a great question, because speaking in very general terms, now there's always exceptions to the rule, but speaking in very general terms, when you're talking about world coins, the demand for world coins among collectors is not nearly as great as for United States coins. So, generally, if the world coins are not made out of precious metal, gold or silver, their value tends to be very modest. But again, for coins for AIDS, for an example, we'll find good homes for them, because what I do is I send an example of that coin to one of our youngsters who has earned 3 A's. And again, I challenge them to learn as much about the country who minted the coin and the history of minted the coin. And one other thing I wanted to say about that is I keep an Excel file for all of the kids who participate in Coins for A's. And in that Excel file, I list the particular coins that I send to them so that they never receive the same coin twice. They are always getting a coin from a different country. Because what I've learned is that, and I'm a former public school teacher, that for whatever reason, we've had a tough time getting kids to understand and be good with geography. And so I've always believed that if we can get kids to have a reasonable idea of where the countries that minted their coin are located, that we've done a really good job. So to answer your question, no, you don't have to get them appraised. And again, they'll be used for kids who are very grateful to receive them, and they'll go to good homes.
So I'm actually going to do one more question. It looks like we have just a few more people that haven't answered the survey. What is the best way to dispose of accumulations such as 50 years of mint proof sets or rolls of statehood quarters?
Yeah, so statehood quarters. So statehood quarters, they minted so many of them. If you have them in rolls, there's a possibility that dealers may be interested in them. But to be perfectly honest, if you just have them lying about in a large collection with the statehood quarters, I would spend them. I think that would be the prudent thing to do. And I'm sorry, what was the other? The statehood quarters and?
Let me look again.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Let me find it. It says, what's the best way to dispose of accumulations of 50 years of mint-proof sets or rolls of...
Mint-proof sets, okay. So mint-proof sets, dealers will be interested in them, especially the older, the further back that you go with mint-proof sets, there's more interest in them. But again, generally with mint sets and proof sets, with certain exceptions, they're very, the price, the value is very modest. Often, unfortunately, less than what people generally originally paid for them when they came for the mint. We get several mint sets as donations, and we're very grateful to receive them. And that's an example of something that we would use for one of the YN auctions, so the kids can purchase them for their collection. But that's something that you want to consider. You may want to take them to a dealer. You're probably not going to realize a tremendous price for them, unless you're going way back into the 1950s, for example. then they tend to be worth a little bit more money. But modern proof sets generally have not done particularly well value-wise. So, that may be something that you want to consider as donate material, or you're willing to take them to a dealer and just get what you can out of them.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Rod. Really appreciate it. Again, if we didn't get to your question, I will send these to Rod to get these answered here pretty soon. So Rod, we have a certificate of appreciation coming to you for your time and effort into this presentation. I know I learned a lot about this, and I'm hoping everybody else did as well. Our next presentation is going to be on Monday, August 10th. It's going to be with Raymond Williams, an introduction to collecting colonial paper, 'Tis Death to Counterfeit, and that's another money talk. So hopefully you can make that one. If you haven't gone on our website in a little bit to check out all the classes that are coming up, I recommend doing it. We're adding classes daily. And all of the recorded classes are on there as well. So if you go to info.money.org/elearning, you can find them there. If you have any questions that did not get answered, you can send them to education@money.org, and then I'll help to get those to Rod if we'll work together to get those done. So appreciate everybody's time. Thanks for being with us, and thank you, Rod.
Thank you, Brianna. You did an excellent job as always.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.